as I was walking, while I was walking, when I was walking. What's the difference and how do I use these words in English? These 3 words are challenging in English because sometimes they can be used in the same way and sometimes they have completely different functions. I put all the information into a 3-circle Venn diagram for you. There is going to be a lot of information today, so I have a test for you at the end of this lesson. Can you please let me know your score in the comments below? I love hearing from you. Did you get 9 correct out of 9? Or maybe just 5 correct out of 9? Let me know. My name's Arnel. Let's start. Let's start with the Venn diagram. That way you can see all the steps we need to go through in today's lesson. Here we have as, while, and when. They each have their own independent functions. Sometimes 2 can be used in the same way. And here in the middle, they have the same function. Let's start with this. 2 actions at the same time. Lucia was reading a book while she was drinking her coffee. Lucia was reading a book when she was drinking her coffee. Lucia was reading a book as she was drinking her coffee. You can see the reading and the drinking coffee are happening simultaneously. Yes, you can also switch the clauses around. No problem. Mini note, if, as, while, or when begin your sentence, use a comma to separate the clauses. If, as, while, or when come in the middle, no comma is necessary. Okay, but is there a difference between as, while, and when here? When we are speaking about 2 actions happening at the same time, while and as are the more common words to use. Why? Well, you can see here that when has quite a few other functions. So normally, when 2 actions are happening at the same time, while and as are used. So there's no confusion. I'm trying to get Google Maps to work while Kyle is driving. I have present continuous and present continuous. I made muffins as my kids watched. While the window cleaners are here this afternoon, we cannot open the windows. Present simple and present simple, but I'm referring to the future, this afternoon. I want you to think about 2 things you enjoy doing at the same time. I love eating ice cream while I am watching Netflix. I love it. Don't bother me when I'm doing this. Don't bother me when I'm doing this. Here's another example of 2 actions happening at the same time. Venn diagram time. 2 actions at the same time? Done. Let's move on to the interrupted ongoing action and the interrupter, because I'm sure you're curious about these. First, what's an interruption? An interruption is something that disrupts another action. Like, so for the first quarter, we are, what time does this meeting end? It ends at 4. Anyway, for the first quarter, we need to decide, because I really need to leave at exactly 4. You can see B keeps interrupting A. While plus interrupted action. As plus interrupted action. When plus the interrupter. What does this mean? Let's take a look at a few examples. While, as we were driving, we saw Andy. You can see, while we were driving, this action is interrupted. While, as the teacher was talking, I fell asleep. You can see the teacher was talking. This action is interrupted. And whether the original action continues or not is not important. Nuance, note. As is often used when the interruption is surprising or unexpected. Like, as I was walking down the stairs, I slipped. I bumped my head as I was getting out of the car. You can see with these two examples, there's more of a feeling of surprise. But don't worry, usually as and while are interchangeable. Okay, so now we know as and while introduce an action that gets interrupted. What about when? I was taking a shower when the fire alarm went off. And go off means starts to ring, like this. When the lights went out, I was giving a speech. And when lights go out, they turn off, usually unexpectedly, like this. You can see that when introduces the thing that interrupts. It's the interrupter. The interrupter. I mean, it sounds like a villain.
When is the interrupter? Waiting to interrupt.
So, the fire alarm interrupts my shower. The lights going out interrupts my speech. Here are the examples we've looked at so far. These are the tenses you normally see in grammar books. As while plus past continuous and past simple. Past continuous when plus past simple. This is standard and common. Let's do two more examples. As I was having breakfast, I felt a sharp pain in my stomach. I was waiting to cross the street when a car splashed me. I'm sure you've seen something similar in your English lessons. But just like earlier, there are other tense options. You'll be teaching in room 5 when Mr. Smith comes in to observe. I have future continuous and my interruption with the present simple. Please don't worry if the tenses are confusing. Tenses take a very long time to master. In this lesson, I just want to show you lots of different examples. I do have a full lesson on my channel about the tenses, which you can check out later. Mini review. While, as, and when can be used when two actions are happening at the same time. While and as are the more common in this case. I sat and looked out the window as it was snowing while it was snowing. While and as describe actions that are interrupted. While as I was trying to put in my contact lens, it fell. When is the interrupter. It introduces the interruption. I was picking berries when something bit me. Normally you'll see this. While as plus past continuous, past simple, past continuous when plus past simple. But you may see other tenses. Okay, let's keep going. The interrupted, ongoing action, the interrupter, done. Let's look at omitting the subject. Omit means not include. You can see this is possible with while and when. Before we continue, I just want to quickly mention that if you want all of these notes, you can become a member and download today's notes to keep forever. Okay, I have a few sentences from earlier and an extra one. Look, in each sentence, the subject is the same for each clause. Lucia, she. We, we. I. You. After while and when, you can remove the subject and the be form. Remember the be forms? Lucia was reading a book while drinking her coffee. Lucia was reading a book when drinking her coffee. While driving, we saw Andy. I love eating ice cream while watching Netflix. When here, you can stay in our guest room. You cannot do this with as. As driving, we saw Andy? No. And we cannot do this if there's no be form. My dog's tail starts wagging when you pet her. And this is wagging, like a dog's tail, or you can wag your finger. My dog's tail starts wagging when pet her? No. Let's do 2 more examples just to finish this part. I felt nervous when presenting my idea to the team. The audience clapped when watching the performance. Yahoo! Another part done. So many choices left. Let's go to when. And let's do all 3. After, whenever, and during that period. Get ready. After. One action happens, and then the other action happens after. When you get home, call me. First you get home, and call me after that. Please give Elaine this USB stick when you see her. First you see her, and then you give her the USB stick. When you enter the building, please go to the reception desk. First you enter the building, and after that you go to the reception desk. So, in all 3 of these sentences, you could change when for after. That also works. Answer this question for yourself. When I wake up, I put on my glasses. I mean, seriously, without my glasses, I'm like this. Whenever. This means at any time. It doesn't matter when. In this case, when and whenever can be used interchangeably. I work from home, so I can work whenever I want. I can work the standard 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I can work 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. It doesn't matter when. Whenever you have free time, try to do a few stretches. It's good for you. I smile when I see a comment from you. This is true. I love reading your comments. During that period, we use when plus subject plus verb to talk about a long period in the past. When I was in my 20s, I kept a journal. In my 20s means the ages 20 to 29. And this can work with any decade. He's in his 30s. My parents are in their 60s. And to keep a journal means you write in a journal regularly, like every day. When this road was being built, you could hear the noise from miles away. It was loud. Can I use while in these examples? I mean, 2 things are happening at the same time. For longer periods, we use when. It's more natural. You'll often hear things like this. When I was a kid. When I was married. When we lived in Arizona. Longer periods. Yes, when is done. Whew. We only have a couple of more things to do. Let's do as, meaning because. I always listen out for interesting idioms in movies, as I'm an English teacher. Because I'm an English teacher. I really do this. When I hear an interesting idiom, I'm like, I should put that in a lesson. And listen out for something. This means you try to hear something specific. I'm going to jump in the shower. Can you please listen out for the doorbell as I'm expecting a package? Listen out for something and as meaning because. Is there a difference between as and because? Well, first of all, because is a lot more common. We use because every day. As is more formal and not as common. I have a full lesson on as and because on my channel. I'll link it down below for you. But don't worry, many times these are the same. As you were late, I'm going to have to tell management about this. Teacher 1. Why does Bob have 2 parent-teacher meetings scheduled? Oh, he has 2 meetings as his parents are divorced and they don't communicate with each other. 1 meeting for his dad, 1 meeting for his mom. Let's look at a new sentence. As the baby was sleeping, I did some exercise. This is where the context is important because this sentence can mean 2 different things. 2 meanings we looked at in today's lesson. As the baby was sleeping can mean while the baby was sleeping. 2 actions at the same time. I think I've done this like 10 times in this lesson. As the baby was sleeping can also mean because the baby was sleeping. I thought it would be a good time to do some exercise. So when you see as, you need to decide if it means while or because. The context will, of course, help you. Finally, the very last one before the test. While can give you a contrast. Contrast means 2 things are clearly different. In formal English, while can be used to give a contrast. It's like even though. While I enjoy cooking, I hardly ever cook during the week because I'm so busy. Here there's a contrast. On the one hand, I enjoy cooking, but on the other hand, I'm too busy to cook. While I understand the theory of today's lesson, I find it difficult to apply in real life situations. While I appreciate the convenience of smartphones, I sometimes miss simpler times. I was born before the internet. Were you? We didn't have smartphones. We didn't even have cell phones. I mean, I used these. This was my first phone. Test time. Here I have 9 sentences and the 9 functions we looked at in this lesson. Let's do one example together. I'm 18, so my parents let me go to bed when I want. Here when is I. It means whenever, at any time. Pause the video to do the rest. Here are the answers. How did you do? Please leave me your score in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this lesson helped you, and I can't wait to make another video for you. See you next time. Bye!